Hello, hello. It's Friday, which is named after the Norse goddess Frida, who's associated with love, beauty, fertility, sex, war, God, and the magic for seeing and influencing the future. So, what day is better to talk about human beings and what they're doing than on a Friday? And we have a special guest today. This is our first episode, so you have to bear with us if there's any technical difficulties. But we we have our special guest here, Jannie van Boogaard from the Netherlands, and we're going to run through our series of questions with her and learn a little bit more about her and what she's doing and what her life's about. So, Jannie, welcome and thanks for joining.
Hi, Diane. Thank you so much for having me as a guest on your show. I'm really excited about this, and I love it. It's the first time, so woohoo! Celebrating you for doing this. Really awesome, and looking forward. Hello, everybody listening. Looking forward to what's coming up.
Okay, so I kind of spilled the beans already on where you were from, but um, where are you from? Where do you live now? Do you live where you grew up? Did you move somewhere else? Just give us a little more info about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm from the Netherlands, and I grew up in a little town near one of the bigger cities in Holland, and I'm born there. I've been raised there. I've been trying to get out there, but things went a little bit different, and that's totally okay. And now I'm living in the home where I grew up. So I was able to buy the house from my parents I grew up, and now I'm living there, having my own office here, and doing all my fabulous work with all my authors on writing and reading and everything I like.
Awesome. Awesome. And any plans on moving, or are you happy there?
Both. I am happy here, and also the kids. I've got three teenager kids here in the house, and we're really having a great time here in the house. But it's not the end station for me, so I'm really happy that we're here. But the next step will be buying a house together with my friends, and get somewhere on an even more exotic spot. No, not exotic, but more into the nature, the forest, all those things. So
Yeah.
we're planning to move, but that will take up maybe 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. That
We'll
sounds
we'll see what's
awesome.
happening. Yeah, I
So
love
in the
just being.
meantime, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I should just love to being in some quiet spaces and not living in the city. I don't mind going to the city. I love it there, but not for living there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, nature's great. And
Yeah,
I live in the city in New York City, and sometimes the noise creates a vibration in your life that you're just completely unaware of. So it's
true.
it's nice to get out. Sometimes if I go for too long though, I start to begin to question, okay, what's the next step? Because the quiet for 2, 3 weeks, a couple of months, and then like, okay, I have to either, start taking up basket weaving or go hiking in like the middle of the city or something for a change of pace. So,
But
so why don't we get into a little bit about what you're doing? What are you doing right now that's interesting?
well, I'm a writer's coach, and I love to help people who want to write a book, and not only by make that accomplishment of publishing that book, but more, I want them to be proud of their book by connecting their voice, their message. There's so many people that have so much to share, so much knowledge in them, so much experience in them, and a lot of people say, "Oh, I wish I could share that with people." But not a lot of people dare to take that first step with it. And that's what I do. I saw too many people around me, and I started guiding them, helping them to get clear on their message, get clear on their voice, and then wrap it into a book. And for me, why books? Because books are timeless. Um, I really enjoyed, at one time, I was watching a movie, and it was playing in America, and the movie was based on a book of Anne Frank. And Anne Frank is a young lady from the World War II, was living in the Netherlands. So
Yeah,
because what she had encountered and all her thoughts were written down in a book, in a diary. That book, years after her that she was that after her death, the book is traveling all the way to America, touching lives of young people, was created a movie about those young students. And then that movie came back to the Netherlands. I was seeing that and was touched again. So, and that's the magic of by writing a book, and that's why I'm so passionate about helping people with that.
Right. And is this a career change for you, or is this something you've always been doing?
No, I've been my sorry, no, no. So for yeah, sorry, my kid is coming in here. She's distracting me. I'm taking up an hour or so, so please let me have here the conversation. We're live already, so say hi to the world. Oh, bye to the world.
That's a good way to get them to go off and do something else, right?
Yes, yeah, they know if I'm busy, and they're always hopping in. And when I say just bye, they know they're not offended. They know, okay, it's really time to go now. So sorry for the disruption of interruption. Totally lost of your question.
Oh, I was just asking if it's something that you did a career change,
Oh
or
yeah,
you've been doing this all along.
yeah. Well, I was always into making up stories, writing down stories, reading stories. But somehow, when you go to school, you need to get a real job. So I ended up in learning for, yeah, sitting in the office and those things. And it really made me miserable. So in 2012, I had an opportunity to, beside my work, to hop on a call with somebody, and they asked, "Okay, we're printing fantasy pieces, fantasy work, and we need some help for people to look into the stories if they're okay and give them feedback." And that's just what I was passionate about. So I started that just next to my job, just for free, and enjoying every moment. And from there on, I just found my call, and I was like, man, what if I could do this just for as always? And
Yeah.
from there on, I step by step, I changed into keeping doing this. And um, when I got divorced, I was on a moment and I needed to make new choices. And then I was like, yeah, well, not going back to a job, and following my heart call here. And it brought me so much, really, Dan. It brought me so much. And it was not always easy, but I so believe in following the call of your heart. Your heart is beating and it knows the way. And by following it, it brought me onto this path. So at first, I was just helping people out with their fantasy stories. And at one point, I was changing to the business stories because a lot of people were struggling there. Um, and that's how I became full-time writers coach.
That's awesome. It's awesome. So many people, it's, I think it's an amazing time for people who want to break the status quo and who want to really make change in their life. And, COVID, of course, forced a lot of people to change. They caused a lot of people to change their perspective. But
Yeah.
also because I think the initiatives and global awareness of diversity, inclusion, mental health, being more authentic with who you are, being
Yep.
more in touch with who you are, has gained so much traction. Thankfully, so because it's well beyond time for it to happen. Um,
True.
so it's really kind of neat that you can help other people realize their dreams while you're realizing your own dream.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. So I guess in doing this, like, is there somebody that inspired you, or is there somebody that you admire and inspires you, and why?
Oh, that's a real awesome question.
That's like asking
Um,
somebody what their favorite song is, and you're like, I have no idea what my favorite song is. There's too
there's
many of
so
them.
much. Mostly those answers pop up after the conversation, right?
Exactly. Maybe we should have done this later and had a couple of glasses of wine first, and we could have done it like a drinking game.
Yeah. Well, maybe then my answers would change also. Now, the people who inspired me. for most of all, I think my dad has a big part in this, because my dad passed away 1.5 years ago, and somehow things change after somebody is gone. Then you're
Yeah.
rethinking things, and what I really appreciated about him, and what I'm taking with me in my life, is he stood straight for what he believed in, and he was really fearless with that. So he was taking responsibility for his heart, his calls, his actions, and even when there were situations that the world was kind of against him, he still stands straight for his beliefs. And that's something I took with me, and that's something I, yeah, try to do every day in my own life too. It's not always that easy, but I come back to this every time and say, okay, even if the world is saying I'm crazy, I just close my eyes, sit down, and just go back to what's my heart telling me. What are the values in my heart telling me? What is the things that I took with me from life and from all the people around me? And then I just reset my goals and reset the things I was doing, and then I'm able to stand up straight again. And yeah, that's something I looked up to with him. And who do I admire? Also, my new partner. I'm with him for 4 years now, and it's getting better every day. But I really admire the
That's
fact that he
awesome.
is. Yeah, it's such a different life now, and it's so important that you have somebody next to you who believes in you. And I'm always the one believing in others and supporting them. And I've got a great interest too. So I just tell me something, and there's a big chance that I say, "Hey, that's interesting. Tell me more. I don't really want to know." But when I met Robert, he was really standing next to me, and although we have two different worlds, he was into what are you doing?
Right.
And that was such a big thing for me. And I didn't even realize it up front that I needed it too. But when he was standing next to me and really getting into my life, in my writing coaching, in my seminars, in my trainings, and it was like, oh my goodness, he understands what I do. He wants to understand what I'm doing. And just that, without conditions, he is supporting me, and that's something I admire big time in him.
Yeah.
um, and that's what I consciously take with me too, always remembering myself how important that is, and adjusting my behavior, just growing and growing, and stand next to the people I live with, next to the people I work with. And I think it's really important that you have somebody who believes in you.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. And, it's funny because it is International Women's History Month. Well, the other, March 8th was International Women's Day, but it is Women's History Month. And, you said something that triggered me and resonated with me, was having a partner that stands beside you. And I think as it's not just women, but it is women definitely are afflicted with the need to please, and
Yeah.
the caregiver, and the let's whatever you need help with, I'm there, and then find themselves depleted and having lost their dreams and their passions, and
Yeah.
probably even losing their identity. And if you're with a partner that it's an uphill battle for you to hold on to the edge of the cliff of what your identity is,
Hmm.
that's not a great relationship. And so to find somebody that you can stand next to and support you in the same way you're going to support others, it's kind of
Yeah.
amazing. You know,
It's about seeing who you are, and especially both ways, because yes, I lost my identity in my previous relationship, and but it's a twofold. I don't know if to say it correctly in English, but it's a twofold reason.
right.
Because I lost my identity because of the situation I was in, but there's also a part of me, I allowed it to lose my identity, and not on a conscious level, but by it's also my part that I was adjusting every time, and by noticing this new relationship, I felt I did not need to adjust anymore. and at first I was surprised, like, what's happening? But then by coming together, he's so supportive and believing in what I'm doing. But it's the same way. I support him on his business too, and believing in what he's doing, and we're helping each other on that part. So um, with the two of us, we become one whole, and that's
Yeah,
something. This is done with my partner I live with, but I think in your journey, when you have your call, following your heart, if there is just somebody, and even if maybe it's not your partner, if it's a good friend who supports you and believes in you, that can be the fire on your journey too. And it's
yeah,
up to you to see it and to hold on to it.
yeah. No, it's true. And it kind of strikes me because you're right. I don't know that. I mean, if your partner presented themselves in a way in which, when you on your first date, if they had, if they handed you a resume that said, "Oh, I'm the type of personality that, as the years go on, I'm going to chip away your identity because I'm needy and I'm not secure in myself," you probably would never go on a second date with them. But
No, true.
you end up in a relationship with somebody and they put their best foot forward, and you want to be optimistic, and you want to get into it and be and have something that's real, and so
Yeah.
each you invest time and you invest energy and emotion, and then something happens and you're like, it's just one off. Oh, it's just one off. And by the time you know it, and they may not have even done it intentionally you
No,
know
I don't think it is intentionally. I
no.
think you both start a relationship with the best intention there.
Yeah.
And but along the way, people grow, people evolve, people they you come into situations which you did not expect before, and it changes you, and sometimes for the better, and sometimes for the worse. And if you cannot cope with that together, that's what happened in my relationship, because I was developing, I was growing, and my partner was kind of standing still and was not ready to look at himself. And
Right.
at first, I was just working around it, because I wanted this to work. I wanted this relationship to work until up until a point I need to be honest, not only for myself but for him too. So I don't
Yeah.
think I don't believe it's intentionally, never. But along the way, um, yeah, things happen, and
Yeah.
it's something to be alert on. So I do appreciate all the things I've learned in that relationship, and I take with me, and I'm alert that it's not, how do you say it, I don't take it for granted what we have. Every
Right.
day I am appreciative about how this is working out with my relationship with Robert at this moment.
Right.
But I'm also alert now that when something happens that disturbs me, I'm right on it, and it's gone within 5 minutes, and it's not
Yeah.
adding up, and just, and I think that's the difference, that I'm taking myself serious in this one, because at first I was like, oh, don't just be that just shut up, Jannie, because it's so small and it doesn't matter, and
Right.
it's not that important, and then it's adding up. So that's something
Right.
I'm not letting go, not letting prepare to happen again.
Right. Well, think about it. I mean, if we move back over to careers a little and tie it to relationships, it you don't being a parent and getting married are two jobs in your life that you
Yep.
start off with almost zero experience. and,
Yes.
and they're the most important things in your life. And you move in and you have, like, if you get married and have children younger, you get into it and you have no idea what you're doing,
No,
and
true.
you're like, floundering for years and years. And then, like, some people do it really well and they make the right choice and everything's just, kismet and falls into place. And other people, like, okay, how the hell did I get here? This is this
Yep.
it, we diverged somewhere and I don't know how this happened. So, like, I want to pull it back because when you're invested, especially when you have kids, and you get invested in the relationship and you have assets together and children together and family together, and you have to make the decision that if you want your life to move forward, that you have to make that uncomfortable decision that it's probably best if we part ways so that I can go off in my path and you can go in your path, because our paths are different and we're holding each other back. So I look at it like it's similar to a career change, and trying
Yeah,
to
kind
start
of
a
it
new
is. Yeah,
business,
kind of it is.
where
Yeah,
you really have to like look inside yourself and it takes a lot. It takes a lot of energy
yeah.
and a lot of
Courage.
courage
Yeah,
to actually say, I am going to break this family apart because it is better for everybody. It's better for the children. It's better for me. It's better for you, and
yeah,
we need to move on and grow.
yeah,
And that period though is always very uh, tumultuous. It's very difficult, and so I'm going to bring it to what you're doing now, in that you're starting a business, or you have a business and you're trying to grow the business, and there's always the look for more clients. Do you ever think, oh wow, it would have been so easy to just stay in that past marriage, that past job, that past this? Or are you and I know you are, and how are you overcoming the uncomfortable action and move forward and ignore your imposter syndrome and say, you know what, you don't, go on now, go, you don't have a place here anymore. and move forward and be like, I'm doing this because I'm awesome and I can get it done.
Well, it was for me, it was not an option anymore to stay where I was. I've stayed a really long time. I've stayed a long time there, trying everything to make it work, because I was not willing to give it up what we started together in the marriage. So, and I fortunately see also, because it's not like a divorce podcast at this moment, but I also see people staying together after this period, because when you are at a point that you say, hey, this isn't working, and it can be in your personal life, it can be in your marriage, it can be in your business, it can be in your job, but when you come to a point that you say, hey, this is not working because I'm not happy, or uh, I cannot live the life I'm supposed to be, then you can just, not just, you can look at the parts available and see, hey, what can we do together to make this work, to make this happen, to make this change? And if the situation, it's your partner, or your boss, or your co-worker, or yeah, everybody involved, if it doesn't work together, then you must have the bold courage to say, okay, but I take ownership of my life. And I know, and that was for me, I know my life is affecting other people too. Because it was not only me, it was also my partner who was not
Right.
being happy anymore. And it was also my kids. And for me, my kids are my biggest drive. The moment I saw them getting affected by the bad situation we were in, that was for me the drive to say, hey, this must be different. And I jumped, and not knowing
Yeah.
where to. And that's something, sometimes it is the best way to jump and not knowing where to. But that's less scarier than jumping and knowing you're jumping into, yeah, I don't know,
Right.
another situation or
Right.
some greatness. And that's also with my business. It goes up and down. It's not one line. It's never one line. But at some moments, I have a good energy and I am clear. I think that's the most important thing. Being clear on what I want to go to, or where I want to move away from. Having that clarity helps feeding the courage. And then
Right.
for me, I just need to look at my kids and say, hey, I want a better life for them. And I'm responsible for that. And that's in my business too. I want a better situation, a better life for my clients. And I take my responsibility in that part of writing the book. But I'm also setting the example for my clients, but also for my kids. I'm
Right.
setting I'm setting the example for them to 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 encourage them to see what's possible and to see what we can reach in life.
Right.
And oh my goodness, there are so many moments that I was dabbling and standing on that edge, and I needed to jump, but it took me ages before I took that step. But
Yeah.
every time again I take that step, and every time again I look back and I see this was so much for the better, and that gives some reassurance too, that it's okay to make that unknown step.
Yeah. I think it's I think it's I think you need to be brave with yourself. And when it comes to kids, I mean, I know, I have a son as well, and he's grown now. And I remember when his father and I were getting divorced, and people were saying, "Oh, you should stay together for the sake of your son." And I kept looking at them, and it just didn't register because I was like, okay, so I'm going to stay with him, and the life example that he's going to get is how to settle with somebody because you're too afraid to leave.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not like, I'm not teaching him courage then. I'm not teaching him how to be an individual. I'm not teaching him how to be honest and true to his own heart, and to be compassionate to the other person that he's in a relationship with. And I just felt that it was staying for the sake of the kids. I know a lot of people do it. And I did it for a little bit of period of time, and it never made any sense to me. I think what really helped me get out of it, my son was so young when we got divorced that I kept thinking, he was about 3 years old, and I kept thinking, wow, I have at least another 20 years with this person till he gets finished with college. I said, 20 years is a long time and the one thing that we have very limited power over is the amount of time we have on this earth. And you have to make the most of it, and you have to be an example for your children so that they're brave and have empathy and are empowered to go and follow their heart instead of compromising. So I
totally agree. I totally agree. And that doesn't mean that you are not allowed to fight for something, but you must know when to stop a fight. And a lot of people told me too, for the kids. And of course, it was something I was worried about. What I bring my kids into? I don't know, because the future was so unclear. But I did know that the situation I was in was affecting the kids too. So no matter if I stayed in a marriage or decided to get divorced, both decisions had an effect on the kids. And from those two, I chose the one with the best results for them. And it turned out well. So it's for the better for us three.
Yeah. So we have about 3 or 4 minutes left. And I want
already
to get to
oh my goodness.
Yeah, no, that's what happens is you start off like really nervous, and then all of a sudden it like the conversation flows and it gets deep. So I appreciate and thank you for going there with me. So the last question of the day is, what do you think the world could use more of right now?
I think the world can use a lot of bold leaders more, especially when those crazy times of COVID that we are still in and the last years, a lot of people got scared of not knowing what to do. And I think the world needs bold leaders to stand up and to say, hey, I'm afraid too, but come on, let's stick together, and sharing a little bit of their experience, sharing a little bit of their reassuring wisdom to help the people around them. And it can be in business, it can be in your life, it can be with standing up for your neighbor and say, hey, it's okay. I know a little bit, you know a little bit, let's do this together. So yes, I really truly wish the world more leaders, and just common leaders who are living in your streets.
I think more leaders who are secure enough in themselves to lead by demonstrating their vulnerability.
Yep, absolutely.
Humanity. Yeah.
Emotions evolved in our lives and in our business. I think that's so powerful. It's so powerful, and a lot of people are afraid of it, showing their emotions. But when you do, it's so much powerful, and it's making you more genuine, more authentic. And that is authentic leaders is what we need, with their heart in the right place.
It's so much easier when you let it out and you're like,
yeah. I never want to do it otherwise. It shows it's such a freedom.
We're gonna wrap up. So do you want to plug your business really quick, website or social media plugs?
Oh my goodness, yeah. Well, not prepared. Jannie van den Boogaard. That's my full name. I think it's standing in the in your information. So
Right.
that's my Facebook. You can follow everything I do at least there. So that's my basics. And I've got a book series, Upturn. That's the website I'm running now, having the most focus on. So upturnbook.nl for this moment. I'm going to change later, but for this moment, upturnbook.nl.
Right.
And then you can see what kind of projects I'm involved in at this moment. Yeah, it's
Okay. So I'm going to tell everybody that wants to have you help them learn how to write a book to start off going to Facebook at Jannie van den Boogaard. So it's
yeah.
4 words actually. So it's Jannie is Jannie, and then the last name is Van VAN space DEN space BOOGAARD, and you can find Jannie on Facebook and chat with her and ask her questions and see how she can help you write that amazing book. So
Yeah,
thanks
and
for
you know what?
joining.
For everybody who was listening here, if you find me on Facebook and you want some information, just thinking about it, shoot me a DM on Facebook. Tell that you were listening to this fire chat with Diana and me, and I will send you just a free little blueprint for you to take a look on. From hey, how can I start writing the book? Where do I start? So I think that's a little present I just shoot in here for you, Diana. We didn't talk about this, but
Awesome.
if it's okay for you too, and then just having people getting started.
Excellent. Thanks so much. Really appreciate that. So, thanks for joining, everybody. And I hope you have a very happy Friday afternoon and an amazing weekend. And we'll see you next week on 12 o'clock on Friday with Delia Richardson.